right, so here's the pilot episode for Commissioner. We have a problem. With me, of course, is the commissioner of our league, the Legends Dynasty, Logan Cornelius. Logan, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm honored to be here. Even though I don't know if we ever I kind of just thrust the name Legends Dynasty upon us. We never really chose it. I'm still expecting one day we'll change it, but it's there, and so we're rolling with it.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, it was kind of interesting because I was like, oh, Legends. What makes us legendary? Because I'm pretty sure none of us, well, one, nobody had played Dynasty, so definitely not Legends in that sense. But has everyone won a championship in regular fantasy, do you think?
I mean, that's not really a question I want to dive into. I don't think that's necessarily relevant information.
Ooh, I didn't mean it to be a dig, but that's a...
Yeah, well, I did kind of win a championship, but no one else gives me that credit. Our first year at college, we ran a league. There was a lot of people who weren't really into it, and whoever was a commissioner in that league had these crazy settings where there was no waiver wire, and I was working a night job at the time, working on a movie actually. So I was awake when free agents were available for pickup every night, and so they all complained. I had Megatron and I had AP on that team, and so I won that league, and I'm going to stake claim to that. And actually, no, I won another league from my buddy who's a doctor, and he gave me all the winnings because I won the league for him. So,
but your name wasn't on it.
No, it was his name, but I still won. I was a ghostwriter.
Okay. Well, the reason why we're doing this podcast is, we joked about it last year. I can't remember if we did it before that, but we'd like to, liven up the league a little bit, keep the chat active. It is pretty active in our league, which I'm super thankful for because I'm in another league where it's not as active. It's not as fun, admittedly. So podcast to, stoke the fire a little bit and then get to know each other on a more personal level, because the Dynasty league in particular, it's lifetime. I mean, we joke about it all the time. Yeah. It's the only way you're getting out is next of kin, which I stand by. My kid, boy, girl, they're going to be in fantasy football. So
hey, I'm already training. I ask Avery all the time, what should I do? I asked Savannah, and she won't answer me, so I asked my daughter Avery.
I mean, that was pivotal in your off-season trade that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, lots of trades that I ran by her this year.
Yeah, we'll save that for later. Jeez. Well, so anyway, getting to know each other a little better. It'll mostly be an interview-style podcast, so we're going to bring on managers each week to kind of talk about, a brief life update. I mean, that's important. We're all humans outside of fantasy. Hopefully 99% of the time. I know we can get sucked in during the season, but life updates, and then, talk about your season, what happened, what went wrong, what went good. I said the good, bad, and the ugly of our seasons. I think that's going to be fun to talk about. And then I've pulled some metrics too on our trades.
Love that.
How our roster looked pre and post season. So excited to get into that.
Yeah, well, and I think there's lots of fantasy football content just hey, what should you do? Strictly statistical move-based data. I don't know. I like the idea of really tuning in with someone's league, kind of following what the people are doing, who the people are, why they're making the moves. And hopefully we can create something that's a little bit more unique in that sense. I know a lot of people love the league, and I'm not going to say we're going to be like the guys and girls in the league, but I just like the idea of creating, a narrative, personal touch around a league, and creating kind of brand out of it. It's a fun idea to me.
Yeah. Narratives too. I mean, I think it's going to be fun to track the narratives of the managers because, there's narratives within the football season itself, but we also have narratives going through our heads that aren't analytical. They're more so, subjective, all that good stuff.
Well, and there's multiple ways to run fantasy leagues. A lot of the guys I listen to online, it's they're in 50 to 100 leagues, and so they're making they're treating it like day trading. It's hey, I just got to make the right moves, have a diversified portfolio. You're in a couple leagues. This is my only dynasty league. I'm in several redraft leagues, but for this one, it's this is it. This is where all the emotion is, and so there's a lot of emotion at play in the picks because it's all or nothing. It's not we'll see how this plays in this part of the portfolio. It's no, this is where all the emotion lies. So I got to make the right choices, or I'll be belittled by all of my friends for the next year.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, they always talk about I got to get more shares of this. I'm shares? I've won.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, let's dive in. I mean, let's not delay it because you guys want to hear about Logan's season. Logan's the guest today, so we're going to talk about, some of what's going on in his life and then talk about fantasy. So Logan, how are you, man?
Doing well. Got a second baby on the way.
Congrats.
Thanks. My daughter will be 2 in October, so she's almost a year and a half. But got another one due in September. So
right around fantasy season.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. My wife and I had a conversation. I was only a little bit serious, but I was hesitant to have another baby in football season because that's potentially another weekend that I can't go to a football game. I already had to miss out on the boys' trip to an A&M game last year because I went to Texas A&M, and now there's the potential of missing that twice every football season. But I decided, I'd rather have kids than go to football games, and hopefully I'll get to go to the football games with them in the future. So
that's right.
It was a risk I was willing to take.
Yeah, they'll be wearing the earmuffs. It's always cute pictures when there's babies at football games with the big lawnmower things.
We took Avery to the Cowboys San Francisco 49ers playoff game when she was 3 months old back in 2020, beginning of 23. Yeah, we took her to that. She did not want to wear the earmuffs. I think she was 3 months old at that time. So let that be on my resume for my commitment to the game.
Because was that before or after the road trip that when you saw us in San Diego?
That was before the road trip.
Wow.
She was. We live in Texas, obviously. I guess that's not obvious. You live in California, but
look at your background.
We visited California with her 3 or 4 times in her first 6 months of life. So
that's nuts.
We want our kids to travel, so we're trying to make it happen and love sports. So
kudos.
Putting in the work now.
Kudos. I definitely want to do that as well when we start having kids. Is just get them used to integrating in your life. Don't not travel just because.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's they'll be fine. It's fine.
Yeah. So we're trying to find a weekend just to go camping. Probably something more local, but we need to do something. And what we can do is with Savannah being pregnant, trying to figure that out. But we're gonna try to go camping the next few weekends while she's in her second trimester, and then we'll take probably a vacation, kind of with just us two before the baby gets here sometime the next few months. So still trying to get her traveling. Never gonna stop.
I'm always confused. Is the baby moon when you're trying to have a baby, or when you are pregnant and it's the last?
I wasn't going to use the term baby moon, but I on camera, but I have referred to that with her off camera. But it is after you have a baby. It's your last. It's your last trip, big trip before the baby comes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
So So there's plenty going on right now, and again, now as a young dad, every day is different because she's growing so fast. So it adds so much change all the time, but it's fun.
Good deal. Yeah, every time I see Avery, which last year I saw her a lot because I was traveling to Dallas, which is fun. Yeah. No longer traveling to Dallas as much, but try to make it out there for a layover, maybe 2 hours.
Yeah, okay.
We do have a layover. We're traveling back to South Carolina, so who knows? Maybe we'll get delayed and have to spend the night. Bummer.
Yeah, cross my fingers.
American, man, they get you every time.
Yeah, someone tells me we'll be coming to San Diego before you come to Dallas.
I'm not going to complain. Well, thanks, Logan, for that update. I'm sure we'll hear more from you because you are basically the co-host, so we'll see you often, which is awesome. So what I want to talk about now is your season recap, and we'll go back to preseason. So I guess it would be summer of 2023. And I'm looking at your roster from the end of the 2022 season. Can you think of anybody that you're I definitely had him, and he was integral to my success in 2022, which probably wasn't much.
That answer is easy. 2020, was that the first season?
That's the second season.
My boy Josh Allen. I still call him my boy, and we'll talk more about him later.
Forgot, yeah.
But yeah, he was again. I trained Savannah. I would say, who do we love, and she would respond, Josh Allen. That was our family chant. Which, with conversation coming later, there's more on that. But it was who do we love, Josh Allen, and he was the center of my team. At that 2022 season, we'll get into the season, which I had success, but the 2022 season feels like the highest achieving season I've had yet because I ended the season with a top 3 draft pick and got 4th place. So in our league, 4th place gets their money back. So I came out actually ended up coming out cash positive because of because of the cool Des personal corner benefit we had. But
and thanks for sponsoring the show, Des.
Yeah, thanks, Des. But I ended up getting my money back, ultimately making money, and got a high draft pick. So that was pretty cool. But I mean, Brian Robinson Jr. was a rookie that year.
Oh yeah. After the gunshot
Josh Allen. Yeah,
scary.
I know. Oh boy, who are my receivers?
You had Van Jefferson still. Darius Slayton was a late season pickup, I think. DJ Chark. What could have been?
I started Darius Slayton several times.
I remember this. Season. Remember your late season
I had Drake
pickup?
London. Who?
Your late season pickup of Brock Purdy.
I picked him up twice.
We all gave you so much.
Y'all still do.
I mean,
y'all still do.
I just can't give up a first, but you drive a hard bargain. No one's bid on it yet. But yeah. Oh, and you picked up Rashid Shaheed too. He was a guy.
I did, yeah. But I mean, he's tough. Last year, he had some big games, but I mean, now he doesn't have a spot on my starting roster.
Well, I bet the toughest pill to swallow was your trade for Michael Thomas.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean that. I think some things came around for me this year on it, but it definitely scarred me on trades. I was really excited after that trade. I was like, I got a real wide receiver one now. And now he's not even on a team right now, so we'll see where he's. I mean, he's bound to sign somewhere, but
it was a tough
still
fall.
On my roster.
Tough fall. I hope that doesn't happen to my little Cooper Kupp, So,
yeah, we'll see.
Tough. Well, let's fast forward. We went through the off season. We were pretty radio silent last year. I don't think we did much. I mean, we obviously followed the NFL free agency and all the buzz, which is not nearly as exciting as this year's. But fast forward to August, we had our annual Dynasty retreat where we do the rookie draft. A lot of fun. We were very thankful that one of our league mates, Josh, he had a place. Was it Wimberley? Yeah, Wimberley. So we all met down
Austin,
there.
Texas.
Exactly. We had 6 or 7 of us come down.
Around there. Yeah.
That was a blast.
Was our second one, and so it's been fun to be able to do it twice.
That's right. The 2022 version was in Colorado.
In Pagosa Springs. Another buddy, his parents have a place there too, so
we love that.
That one was a blast.
Someone just needs to get a big spot in San Diego now.
I know. Yeah, it sounds like you need to do that. But before the fan, I mean, there was a key piece to the end of the 2022 season.
What's that?
So it was when I traded away Jamal Williams in the midst of his high touchdown year and Leonard Fournette.
I forgot about this.
To Corey, and I got his first and second. And now in 2022, we didn't have any tanking rules, which we thankfully amended in the offseason, but we didn't have any tanking rules. So I traded them away and then benched my whole roster because I wanted to vote on tanking rules. People didn't, so I was going to do it. But the guy I was playing against, for no reason at all, because there was no benefit, Riley, he'll probably be on at some point, but
he will.
He then benched all his players to lowball me because I had one guy who I had 12 points on my roster. I think Leonard Fournette had a London game, got 12 points, and so the other dude benched everyone, and I ended up winning
with 12 points,
basically. And then I went on the rest of that season to make playoffs and get 4th place. And Corey, his team just imploded, and he ended up getting the 3rd to last. So I made that trade planning on just tanking and getting a better draft pick, and ended up getting into playoffs, and Corey's team ended up doing horrible. And so that was also part of what felt really positive about that season. But that ended up giving me – I ended up having, 3 first-rounders going into the 2023 draft.
Yeah, and we'll notice a trend. The rich get richer. We got some more trades to cover. So that was a major win for you because playoff Lenny retired basically, even though he hasn't. And then Jamal.
He was on a practice squad last year.
And Jamal was a shell of himself in New Orleans.
Yeah,
but the Saints are a weird team,
so
quite frankly.
That trade worked out really well for me. Got a first and a second for that.
It did. So let's fast forward to the retreat and some of your pre-draft trades that you made. There's one that kind of changed the league.
Yeah. Before we get into that, we'll say going into the draft, I was planning on. I had the 103, I think the 109, and the 110.
Wow.
I have DK Metcalf on my team, so I didn't really want to pick up JSN because I didn't really want two Seahawks wide receivers.
Okay.
And I felt like I just blinked on his name. QJ Quentin Johnson. I felt like he had a lot of opportunity, so I was fully prepared. If I wasn't, I wanted Jahmyr Gibbs, but I didn't think I was going to get him because the guy had 101 and 102, both of those. Figured he was going to take both of those, so I was probably going to take QJ, and then was planning on taking tight end for the Bills.
Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah, Dalton Kincaid, and then I was going to take a running back after that. I wasn't sure who the third pick was going to be.
But yeah, JSN was up there.
Who?
JSN was up there. That's right.
Yeah, but that's probably who I was going to take. And then this offer came in that I was not expecting and was hard to refuse.
So the offer, for those of you wondering, and I would say this really changed the league, and it parlayed into another trade. The offer was 4 first-round picks for one Josh Allen, Joshy boy.
Yep.
How long did you have to think on that one?
It's hard for me to ever accept a trade instantly.
First-round picks.
And granted, we'd only had 2 seasons under my belt, but I made several calls that night to just people in other leagues that weren't in our league that I could just talk it through. And then there were some other variables that were into play. If I could, kind of leverage those picks that I was going to get into others, I think it would be worth it. Because at the end of the day, I was going to have 6 draft picks that year, that's way too 6 first-round draft picks, and that's way too many draft picks for me to do anything with my roster. I probably thought about it for a couple hours, and then I made sure to kind of like get some other deals kind of handshaked on, and then once those are kind of handshake on, I went ahead and now it's obviously it would have been dumb not to. But yeah, I took the trade.
And that was the beauty of the retreat, is like you get to see these people face to face, work out some deals, some wheel and a deal that happened. I did some myself. We'll talk about, not too happy about them now. But what did you parlay those 4 first-round picks into? Well,
yeah,
required 3.
So I got 4, and I had 5 picks in the 2023 draft, and 1 for 20, then I think 2 in 2025. So I ended up trading 3 2023 draft picks.
That's right.
For Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. So I was able to kind of obviously not make up full ground. At least, prior to knowing he's going to get injured last year, obviously. I was able to make up ground in the QB range and dramatically increase my wide receiver room. Now, what's really unfortunate is obviously we know what happened with both of them last season.
The bug.
But as an overall team, my team, they dramatically increased from that trade, obviously.
Yeah.
And, I had his pick in the next draft, which will... in the upcoming draft this year, which will, there'll be conversation around that.
I do think it's important to note, we are in a 12-team league. We're half PPR, which was changed the year prior, because I think we were at quarter point PPR, because a lot of these league mates had been in standard leagues before this, which is archaic. So some of us were pushing for half PPR, so we compromised for a quarter, but then it got bumped to a half. And we are single QB, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex, 1 tight end,
and
a defense. Unfortunately,
yeah.
we'll talk about that later. That's a commissioner problem. Speaking of,
it's not. I mean, it's a league problem. We make decisions by majority. I don't have any power. I just have responsibility. It's like in this league, great responsibility comes with no power
and no pay.
Yeah,
maybe we can change that with this podcast.
Yeah, sounds
We'll
good.
send support in the link. So let's take a look at some of your other trades. There was another one in here that happened in the draft. Two actually. Do you remember them?
I traded for Isaiah Pacheco, which is basically Zay Flowers in a second for Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah. So you sent a first,
no, 2 seconds. Isaiah Pacheco in 2 seconds, right?
You sent a first rounder for Pacheco and 2 second rounders.
Yeah. I like that. I still like that trade.
I did too.
I think Zay Flowers is good, but that's a ton of value. Josh just had so many. He has so many draft picks that he's willing to do that.
Yeah, it was an overpay, but he got his guy, I guess.
Yeah.
And
then the other draft, the other one was, oh man, I traded Van Jefferson, which at the time Cooper Kupp was hurt, and kind of his status was it was unknown. Van Jefferson was on the roster, the wide receiver 1, and I traded him for 302.
Yeah, just a third round pick.
And I leveraged 302
oh my gosh, I
into
forgot.
Sam Laporta.
Sam Laporta, man, what a steal.
Yeah. Yep.
And now he's ranked as tight end 1 in Dynasty according to several metrics, and then he had a stellar season. I think he finished like top 5.
Yeah, I think he was 1 or 2 at the end of the year, tight end.
That's nuts.
And so if we're keeping track so far, Josh Allen out, Kirk Cousins in, Justin Jefferson in, Isaiah Pacheco in, and Sam Laporta in. So it was kind of a massive overhaul on my roster.
That's right. Pretty wild. I mean, being active in the trade market, I think it can do a lot of things in a hurry. And we've all been there, and we've made good trades and bad trades. Logan making a lot of good trades lately at the expense of others. But hey.
Hey, I definitely lost some trades midseason. I think they were lower volume. But
let's dive into your season then. So going through your season, I can't remember how your season went exactly, but was there a turning point, or how were you feeling midway through? Were you optimistic? Were you like, I got to get out of this situation? Walk us through that.
Yeah, again, there's actually some parallels between last season and the season before. I started off really strong in this season. I think I was 3-1 or 4-1. I think my only loss was to you in stupid fashion. I think you had George Pickens, and he had some stupid thing happen.
Probably like a 75-yard touchdown catch or something.
Yeah, that might have. I can't remember if that was in the other league I'm in with you, the redraft league, or if it was in Dynasty. But I think I lost to you for some stupid reason.
Pickens.
But yeah, I started off really strong, and then things kind of started going south midseason. David Montgomery, he went through a few week injury. Justin Jefferson obviously out for a majority of the year.
Aaron Jones.
Yeah, Aaron Jones had a lot of injuries this year. Kirk Cousins obviously went out for the season. And then
did you mention JJ?
Yeah, I mentioned JJ. So but those are like core players on my team that were all having injuries, and that on top of once you get in the midseason, that's when buys start coming. I was starting to hurt, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, who was holding down the fort? I mean, you had DK, who it was a weird year for him, but he did okay. Yeah. I know having both Packers running backs like A.J. Dillon, you'd think with Aaron Jones getting hurt, he'd have just rose to the top, but frustrating.
I should have my roster pulled up right now, but with A.J. Dillon, it was a frustrating year for A.J. Dillon. He didn't really help my roster last year.
Brian Robinson did good.
Brian Robinson, he was one of the mainstays on my team.
Drake London,
but it was a
tough situation for Drake London.
I couldn't start Drake London.
One
really.
of your early season darlings was Adam Thielen. He carried you to that 3-1 record.
Adam Thielen really was up until halfway through the season. He was as strong. I mean, I didn't take him out of my roster. He was a starter, which I wasn't expecting.
Nuts, absolutely nuts. Because he's probably 33 years old. He's ancient.
Yeah, those were. But really, I mean, JJ and Aaron Jones, Kirk Cousins, David Montgomery, them being hurt for that stretch, I was desperate midseason.
Yeah, you made some trades midseason too. So I'm looking at our trade tracker. Around October, you made 2 additional trades. Do you remember them?
It was one Pacheco.
Pacheco. You sent Pacheco for a 2026 first and second rounder, which obviously you're going to have to wait a long time to reap those rewards. But Pacheco he did okay. Like, I wouldn't say he had a stellar season, but he definitely was startable.
Fantasy wise, I think he was top 10.
Was he? He must have turned it on at the end, because I remember, like, during the season I was like, I felt like that was an overpay, but maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, it was, so there was a few things that went into that trade. Isaiah Pacheco, and maybe he wasn't top 10.
I know what happened. That was
you're what happened. Isaiah Pacheco was number 16 at the end of the season, so I was wrong there.
Yeah, you were trying to get a different running back at the time.
I thought it seemed pretty clear to me that I was going to get Jonathan Taylor. So
your handshake deal went south.
Zach Garcia was he's looking to tank. He had a really his season was hilarious. It was so funny. He could not. Whatever he wanted to do, the opposite happened.
His players had a great season. His team did not have a great season.
Yeah. So he was trying to get rid of Jonathan Taylor, and it seemed like I had a need for running back. It seemed pretty clear. I'm very thankful now that you got him and not me, because things turned out well for me as far as the position needs at the end of the season. But so I was like, this is really good value for Isaiah Pacheco. Everything I saw, everyone I talked to was like, yeah, like you should take that value for him. And I was like, yeah, like if I can build up my season, 2026 will be a good year to kind of reload and get that draft capital. So I shipped him away, expecting to get Jonathan Taylor, and ultimately, some other jerk stole him away from me. Which what you gave up, I think was a mistake. But hey,
at the time, it was less clear. Hindsight's always 2020. Yeah. Come on now.
For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, the writing is on the wall now.
Yeah, it's tough.
But
hey, some people like to trade for perennial all-stars, and others, like for me, I acquired 2 amazing wide receivers in my season. We'll get to the other one later. You traded 2 away, so it's impressive, really.
Yeah, but I got 1 ultra star that we'll talk about later. But so let's keep rolling. You made a trade. You traded away. You bought Kareem Hunt for a second, yeah. Yeah,
I paid a second for Kareem Hunt. I was kind of looking for just like I overpaid for him, and I knew that going into it.
He didn't do much.
He was getting a lot of touchdowns, and I was really desperate at that time. That was like the middle of my injury season, and Kareem Hunt just got signed. I was like, well, he's got a real nose for the end zone. Let's get this guy on my roster, and I started him a couple times, and he got me double-digit points, but. At this point, I wish I had that second and not Kareem Hunt, but
that's fair. You also made a deal for Gus Edwards, Josh Dobbs when he was playing lights out. I mean, he had a crazy season, but he did well for you for like 1 week, and then he sputtered.
Yeah.
And DeAndre Hopkins, so Gus Edwards, Josh Dobbs, and Hopkins for a first and a third. That feels about right. And that was to Zach, who was tanking, of course. So he didn't want those old guys.
I was really high on Dobbs, so I kind of like. I don't know. I feel like I know he's been in the league a long time and had a lot of success, but he has sustained success for like what 8 games, 7 games there.
Were they pretty?
Well, no, it was longer than that because he had success. No, he did well even on the Cardinals, and then he got traded to the Vikings and did well for several games, and then he had a few games and they just walked away from him.
Kind of.
Yeah, so I don't really. They lost JJ, I think, because of Dobbs, and that's probably what happened. Like he just threw a miserable ball in the middle of the field, and JJ got out for 1 game because of that. But yeah, so I was high on him. Obviously, that didn't pan out. And the others were like, well, I kind of need the added roster depth.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. There's not really great quarterback play in Tennessee. Now they have Calvin Ridley, which, my bias is like, hey, that'll probably help DeAndre get open more. Maybe it'll be good because they have another wide receiver.
He doesn't need help.
But the issue is quarterback play there, really. And then Gus Edwards to the Chargers, which they don't really have that great a running back play on their roster. I'm sure they'll draft someone, but there might be some plug and play possibility with Gus Edwards next season. We'll see.
Well, I want to make sure that we have time to talk about your last 2 trades of the season, which arguably. Well, you had so many good trades. This one was a home run You sent a first and a third, which I think the first is what, like pick 102 or 105. So it was a juicy pick, but you got a first rounder in return in 2024, so a year later. But you got Kyren Williams. Dude was lighting it up.
So I made this trade before he came back from injury. So he had a really good early season. Been hurt 4 weeks. Ryan offered me that trade. I think we talked around it a little bit. Originally, he offered me like pick 110, like my pick, or what I assumed was gonna. Well, I assumed it was gonna be pick 112 at the time, and which should have been, but whatever. And I was like, nah, like it's not worth trading back that much. Which, I mean, looking back now, it definitely would have been. But I think I ended up trading him. Ultimately, I got Kyren Williams to move back one spot.
Wow,
is what I think it came down to.
Geez, so and he finished top 5. I want to say. I mean, they were feeding him. Which
he was out. Oh, he did. He finished number 6,
which is impressive.
Being out for
he
4
missed
weeks.
at least
or 5 weeks
on IR stint. I mean,
yep.
And he looked good too. It's wild. The Rams running back, like they feed them at the end of the season. Like Cam Akers, he was like, oh, he's the guy, and then he got traded to the Vikings or something. Anyway, their running back situation is always tricky, but Kyren fit the bill. And then your last trade, arguably the biggest.
Definitely the biggest.
And the reason I would say the reason why is it came down to the wire. I mean, literally,
we literally did it minutes before the trade deadline.
Minutes before the trade deadline, which is like, I don't know, week 10, week 11. It was November 28th, so pretty late in the season, a couple weeks before playoffs. What happened?
As far as capital goes, really bad value for me. I just want to put that up front. As far as tangible talent, like a really good ad for my team. So I gave up a ton. So I feel more strongly than I think almost anyone else. I mean, maybe you feel the same, maybe not, but I gave Anthony Richardson, Drake London, and pick 104.
That's right.
For CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb in a third, yeah. Well, we'll talk about it when we talk about my season, but I was right on the edge, and right at the deadline, I was like, well, let's embrace the tank. You had my pick, and I was like, trading away CD hurt because I literally traded for him earlier in the season, but I wasn't going to make playoffs. That was a done deal at that point, and I was like, I might as well get my pick back. Do I have regrets? Time will tell. Drake London's future is looking bright. Anthony Richardson, if he can stay healthy, I think he's a game changer. And then we'll see what I get at 104. So we'll just have to wait and see for this one. I mean, you did give up a lot of value. CeeDee Lamb, of course, had a stellar season, best in Cowboys history. Top 3 Dynasty wide receiver for sure. I mean, up there with
top 1?
Well, in the season, yes, but like in terms of asset, you could put him up there in the Jamar, Chase, JJ, and CeeDee Lamb. They're all in their tier of their own. So yeah, big trades for you, man.
Yeah, well, big stuff. that one, I had just gotten Kyren Williams. JJ was coming back soon, and it was like I think I can make a push for the championship, and it's like this is a big move, and my hope was that I would win the championship, and it'd be like, you know what, I gave up all that value, but who cares? Like I got my ring. That's what I needed, and like I wanted to win the championship, put that money towards a PS5. Like that was the goal. That was the goal late in the season. So I was like, you know what, CeeDee Lamb's going to help me get there. Plus, I am hesitant to draft Cowboys, and it was having him on my team was pretty awesome because
you're doing well.
The Cowboys were doing well and he was doing well, so it was
fun time.
It was quite a time. But I mean, now I would say I probably have the best wide receiver room in the league
for sure.
Hard to beat JJ and CD, and then my wide receiver 3 is DK Metcalf, so it's not too bad.
Yeah. Well, the rich get richer, like I said earlier. So good season for you. But how did it finish? Was it what you were hoping for?
Yeah. No, not at all. I won the first round against Josh Rich, who he has a really young team. He had the 101, 102 last year. We'll dive more into that when he's on the podcast, but played him in the first round and beat him. Was nervous around that. And then in the semifinals, I was playing Corey, who was the top team in the league. And he had Jalen Hurts, had a pretty good season. He had traded for, I think, Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara early in the season, so he'd had a lot of solid running back play. I was beating him by, I think, 12 points or 9 points going into the final game of the weekend. I had Brock Purdy. He had George Kittle. I checked the stats. George Kittle had not outscored Brock Purdy by that margin at all that year. So it was pretty much a done deal. And this is when the 49ers were playing the Ravens. And Brock Purdy just... I don't know. He was having a living nightmare. It
like
hurt me.
First half picks, right?
Yeah, it hurt me watching him. Like, it was the worst game he's probably ever played in his entire life, dating back to Pee Wee football. And I was sitting there watching just the championship slip out of my hands.
I forgot about that.
And I was just it was I don't know. It was so depressing to watch. I was so sad just watching it, and like, it's so helpless when that's happening to you in fantasy because you have no control. Obviously, I mean, that's all of fantasy in general. But when it's just one player and like you are in the lead, and it's like you've done the math. Like, I was excited. I was like, I'm doing it. Like, I made some awesome trades. I'm going to the championship, and then just Brock Purdy, I think, put up 0.2, and I think and then he kind of got that like slight concussion at the end of the game.
Oh yeah.
And Sam Darnold came in for one drive and threw a touchdown. I'm not sure on the numbers, but I think if that would have been Brock Purdy, I still would have won the game. So if Brock Purdy would have stayed in and thrown that touchdown pass, I think I would have won.
That's wild.
But like, every single possible thing that could have gone wrong went wrong, and I ended up losing by like 5 or 6 points, something like that. And it was I'm getting PTSD just talking about it now.
Heartbreaking. Yeah, it's hard to watch those. I mean, of course, you're just sitting like, well, glad it's not me. Wish I was in the playoffs at least, but
yeah,
it was tough to watch. I didn't want you to win just because everyone's giving me crap for our trade, and part of you is like, well, I'll show him, like he won't make it far. But
that's why I'm hoping Drake London doesn't have a great year next year to avoid the regret.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kirk Cousins to Drake London. We'll get into that later, but looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
Logan.
After the semis, I ended up going to the third place game, and my team actually demolished. I think CeeDee Lamb and JJ both went off, had like 30-something points, and I think I won by a margin of 50 in the third place game, and I would have crushed both guys in the championship game. So that hurt to watch. And I picked up Zamir White, who is now looking to be the RB1 in Oakland, and I started him that week. So it was sad. It was a sad championship week because I wasn't even worried about winning third place, and I wouldn't have even been worried about the championship. And I just had to watch them play for first place while I sat in sadness.
Yeah. No PS5.
And that's how my season ended.
No PS5.
No, well, I ended up buying one, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wasn't funded by fantasy though.
Yeah, it wasn't funded by fantasy, which felt sad. And I'm a big budget guy, so there were some things I had to do to work it out to fit it into our budget.
Yeah, speaking of that, I was in 3 leagues and I didn't make my money back in any, so I was $300 to fantasy this year.
Tough. That's tough.
I know some people play with much higher buy-ins, but ours is 100, so it stings a little bit for sure.
Yeah, that's tough. I ultimately ended up losing 20 because I lost in our redraft, and then I made 80 in this league.
Yeah.
And so it netted out minus 20, which I could live with.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're in the off season. We're in the midst of NFL free agency. I would say the bulk of it's passed, or at least the big ones, the big signings. For your team in fantasy, do you have any goals that you're willing to share? I know, sometimes strategy can get tricky with what you want to share, what you don't. But
yeah,
looking at your team, the end of the 2023 season, you got Sam Laporta, you got JJ, you got CD. Your quarterback room, you got Kirk Cousins coming back. You have Brock Purdy. Your running back room, you picked up Zamir White. You got Kyron Williams, Brian Robinson, Gus Edwards, Aaron Jones. Not a lot of holes in there. I would argue none. What picks do you have? Do you know?
I've got 2 third-round picks.
2/3. Maybe you can turn that into more tight end ones or something.
Yeah, that's the dream. Yeah, but I have 3 first round picks, one in 2025 and early in 2025. I kind of wanted Josh Allen. I'll be blunt about that. I wanted him back. Obviously, the guy who ended up trading me Josh Allen last year left our league, and we got replaced with a new manager. The new manager came in, Wesley. So that'll be a fun conversation when he's on, since he's new.
Oh, yeah.
And he's kind of cleaning house, embracing the tank, trying to get rid of players, get lots of picks. So he's trying to get rid of it. I was hoping to wait until after the draft. Kind of wanted some cool down period. Unfortunately, he ended up trading away, and because I have his pick, so I could really help him embrace for the 101. But he ended up trading Josh Allen away along with Amon-Ra St. Brown. And so, I won't go too into that because that'll be covered later. But unfortunately, he was gone because I was kind of thinking I could get him back because, I'm still scarred by Brock Purdy in that semifinals game. Even though he had a really good season, I think he's only going to get better. But yeah, I think I'd like to get into the draft this year. I'm obviously in win now mode, so I'd be willing to basically trade forward next year's draft into this year. If I can find a way to do that with Wesley, that'd be great. But I'd like to find a way to work with several managers, maybe a multi-way trade, get into this year, see what we can do. I'm really open. I'm open to trading to try to get talent now because clearly I made some big moves, and I think I have a roster right now that can compete for the next 4 or 5 years. I just am notoriously unlucky when it comes to finishing in the playoffs, so I want to do everything I can to get there.
Yeah, it's hard to win. I mean, having a team that gets you there, that's one thing, but taking the cake, it's proven hard because in the 3 years of our league, we've had 3 different winners. So
yep.
Maybe this year will be your year. Probably not. I hope not, because I hope it's me. But you have a good team.
You got a couple years. I hope it's me this year. I need a win.
You have a good team.
I'd like to. I put a lot into this, and I'm going to feel bad if I don't win a team with this roster.
Do you fear that people are going to be a little hesitant to trade with you after you just wiped the floor with everybody last year?
I mean, here's the thing. I lost. Zach got better value in our trade with him. Riley got better value in his trade with you. You got a king's ransom in my trade. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb was like wide receiver 1 at the time, but still, you got a lot. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not the one to answer that. I have to ask other people that, but I don't think so. I'm still, I'm down to make trades, and I like to make trades. I want to make my roster better. I'm trying to think of ways. Like right now, I want to try to find a way that works for Wesley for me to get my pick to him, or his pick that I own to him, so that I can get value I want. Because there's a leveraged amount of value that he has a lot more value with that pick than others do. So if I can find a way to make that work for him, and I get another pick, then there's something we can do there. So
that pick's 1 and 2.
I don't know, maybe, but there was talks of people not wanting to trade with you after your infamous Hunter Henry trade a few years ago, and lo and behold, you still make trades. So
yeah, well, I think that was the last trade I won, so to speak. But yeah, I don't want to talk about it. Quite frankly, do you have any hot takes? It's always fun to hear some
hot takes on next season.
Yeah.
I already told you I saw the script next year.
You saw the script.
Aaron Jones is going to be RB5 for Minnesota. That's not. I don't know if it's considered a hot take if I already know the script. Like I know what's going to happen. So
okay, well, let's get a true hot take then. Aaron Jones RB5. Who's RB4? Any hot takes
RB4?
Kyron Williams.
We'll say no. Kyron Williams will be RB1. Here's the thing about hot takes. I didn't come prepared with enough hot takes, and it's like I'm trying to think. How about this? Here's my hot take. I like hot takes with my roster because it's more fun.
Yeah, there you go.
We're gonna say that Zamir White has a better season than Josh Jacobs. Fantasy wise,
yeah.
We'll say fantasy wise. There's my hot take.
The Padawan beats the master.
Yeah, well, Oakland tends to do a 1 RB system, and they might draft someone, so we'll see. I mean, there's a good chance they do, but Green Bay really likes A.J. Dillon, and he's on my roster, but they use A.J. Dillon way more than I think they should. But hey, maybe A.J. Dillon will keep getting better, but there's a chance that fantasy wise, like Josh Jacobs is going to be splitting a lot more than he has historically. That he's on the Packers with AJ Dillon. Zamir White could be. I mean, Zamir White was a stud in the last 3 games last year. So that's my hot take. My hot take is Zamir White has a better fantasy season than Josh Jacobs.
Okay, it's on the books.
And Aaron Jones is RB5.
Aaron Jones is RB5. Okay, noted.
If Aaron Jones is RB5 and I don't win the championship, Justin,
yeah,
I might just
him?
quit my team.
Like, you have so much talent. That's half the battle. I mean, you fought that all last season. It's like, which quarterback do I start? Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy?
Yeah, you're telling me. Yeah, that was rough.
Didn't you have a third?
No. Those were the. Well, I mean, I had Josh Dobbs at one point, but
yeah. But yeah, I remember you were fighting that every week. It's like, who's going to put up 20? Who's going to put up 10?
Yeah,
tough.
It wasn't necessarily 10, but like I think Kirk put up 30 on my bench once, and then I think Brock Purdy put up 25 on my bench once, and I would have won both of those games. I lost a lot of games because I didn't start the right people. So that was part of the reason I made all my trades last year too. Is like I consolidated my roster to guys who I know I can start and have less just paralysis by analysis.
Drake London. I hope he's a staple for me, but yeah, I know the dilemma.
Hey, I hope he's not. Just on the record.
That's mean. How about hot takes for the NFL? As we can see by your background, you are a big Cowboys fan, living in Dallas. It makes sense. So exclude the Cowboys winning the Super Bowl as a hot take, because I guess that would be a hot take.
I mean, this offseason hasn't given me confidence in the boys next year, unfortunately.
Yeah, no big moves for the Cowboys other than letting people go.
That's fine. Mavs are going to win the NBA Finals, so that's fine. The Rangers got me a pass last year, so I was able to deal with the Cowboys' disappointing loss. Mavs clearly going to win the NBA Finals this year. So for the NFL, man, I gotta prepare hot takes before coming up with them on the fly. I'm trying to think of
That's
what,
how you know
what could
they're
be a
real.
good hot take. Unless I just don't have anything. We'll say I'll stick with the Raiders. Raiders win their division.
Wow, over the Chiefs. Chargers are going backwards, it feels, trading away Keenan Allen. And
yeah, Keenan Allen's just like, I'm not going to restructure my contract. I had my best year ever.
Is that what happened? I didn't even look into it.
That was his quote. His quote was like, I wasn't going to restructure because I had my best year ever.
Here's a question. What are the Bears going to do with I guess with the news today, it's pretty clear what they're going to do with that pick. They have the number 1 pick.
They're taking Caleb Williams. I was hoping you were going to ask what they're going to do with Justin Fields, because I had a really good answer for that. They're going to trade him to the Steelers.
Oh.
But they've got a stacked wide receiver room now over in Chicago. I mean, but again, a USC quarterback's never won the Super Bowl, so I can't help but feel like Caleb Williams is gonna disappoint.
Yeah, coming in as a rookie with big expectations, that's got to be hard. I mean, who's the last rookie that really lit it up besides Brock Purdy in Week 10?
That was my answer was Brock Purdy.
Yeah, he's a system quarterback, right?
No, it's pure talent. Hey, Anthony Richardson lit it up from a fantasy standpoint for like 4 weeks. Oh, that's what it was. It was Anthony Richardson. I was like, who do I start? Anthony Richardson, Kirk Cousins, or Brock Purdy?
That's right.
It was miserable. It was like this QB hell that I didn't know how to get out of.
Yeah, gosh. Well, I'm glad I took him off your hands. I almost got him on a draft day trade for Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers in the first.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing. That would have changed my season for sure.
Well, you would have had a quarterback for 5 weeks?
Well,
no, 3 weeks.
Better than 4 snaps.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like that.
You got him back though, or did you get rid of Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, I traded him so fast.
Okay.
Trade him
Who has him now?
Ryan.
Classic.
Yeah, he loves those old guys. Well, that was a lot.
I know. It's been the off season, so we haven't been talking about fantasy. I mean, we've been talking about it a little bit with the off season trades, but it's fun just recounting the narrative of last year and going into this year. So I'll hopefully make another trade or two before the draft. I'm hoping we have the draft a little bit earlier this year so that I can go to the retreat. As I'll be having a baby mid-September, so
yeah, it's hard to travel.
Need a little bit earlier on that draft.
Yeah, well, we gotta make it happen. I'm excited too. fun off season. I also would like to make some trades. You know, what they look like, I can't say, but that's for me and someone else to figure out.
Hey, a trade with Justin is a win for the other guy. That's what I always say.
Yeah, lately it has been. So, well, anyway. Well, I think that's a wrap for episode 1. Thanks, Logan, for sharing your thoughts on your season. It's fun to hear and heartbreaking loss, but hey, there's always next year. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah, as a Cowboys fan, I say that all the time. So this is fun. I'm glad we got to do this. I like the off-season format. Hopefully, once we get in the season, you know, we've got some fans, people listening, and then we can do something more reoccurring or kind of recap each week. I think we'd all like to have kind of like a quick recap each week. That'd be a lot of fun. So
yeah.
we'll see how this evolves. But this is the pilot. You know, maybe this will turn into something. So we'll see.
I mean, I have small goals. I just want Corey to listen. If Corey listens to this podcast, I'll know we made it.
Hey, Corey was he was more active in the chat at the end of last season. He was in the championship game. So shout out to Corey for.
He stepped it up. 2023 was big.
Coming up strong when it started.
I have big expectations for 2024. Probably 25 messages. I think that might be 5x. So
yeah, that'd be a big. He had that like a couple days where he chatted back and forth. So 25 messages would still be an increase, but that'd be a big goal for him.
Yeah, kudos, Corey. Okay, well, signing off. Commissioner, thanks for joining us. We do have problems, hence the name Commissioner. We have a problem.
Yeah, we'll have to have an episode talking about all of the potential rule changes we want to make, including our defense dilemma, and if there is a path to 2 QB, which now I think most of us want, but it's not easy to figure out how to get there. I think there's a path. Calm down. We can discuss it more on a later episode.
Our kin can decide that.
Oh, please.
All right. Well, thanks, Logan. We'll sign off.
Yep. Thank you. Thank y'all for listening.
All right.